Your first big break was becoming a touring member of illScarlett. They were already successful. They had a gold album, some hit singles. How did that opportunity present itself? You mentioned that being in Streetsville and the
Yeah.
Masonic Lodge and all that, but
Yeah, no, it is. It's very much Streetsville, and like I'd go down there and hang. I don't know if they ever remembered who I was at those particular shows, but then I formed a band, the Knockouts, and we opened for them a couple of times, and then so they kind of knew me through there, and it was just really random. It was like I got a message one day from Suave, and he's the drummer, and it was like a Facebook message, and he was like, "Hey, like, do you want to come do you want to play keys on?" I don't even know how he knew I played keys. Like, I don't know if it was word of mouth or just assumed it or whatever, because I played guitar in the Knockouts. So he was like, "Hey, do you want to come play keys? We're playing the Sound Academy, which is now the Docks, right? Or Rebel now, I think." And I
that's
was
a
like,
big venue. That's a few thousand people, I
"Yeah,
think.
well, dude, I was playing basement shows still at that time, right? So that was like, holy crap." And keys is more my bag, right? So it was like I was able to kind of impress a little bit, and then they were like, "Yo, this is great." And then after that show, he was like, "Do you want to come to LA and record our next, because we're about to go in and record our sophomore record?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay." Like, like, I don't know. And then it just kind of snowballed, and then I just ended up, I was never really like, I was very much like a hired gun for the band, but I was playing with them all the time. So I was kind of like in the thick of it with them. We were writing tunes and stuff like that. And so, yeah, it was a great opportunity, and like, and it really thickened my skin, because I was very green at that point. Like I was teaching piano and then playing basement shows. So I didn't really know the industry yet. So they kind of really introduced me to a lot of that.
So speaking of receiving a random message from Suave, here's another one. So this is from illScarlett drummer Suave. He says Tony, aka Bone, in the Ill Camp, is one of the most genuine humans in the music industry. His skill and showmanship is unmatched by anyone I've played with. The guy has remained extremely humble, and that's rare at his level. He's always down to jump on even the smallest stage with me as long as his schedule allows it. And he's come a long way from the plaid on plaid on plaid choice of wardrobe. LOL. We have to throw that in. So that's from Suave from illScarlett.
That's good. Yeah. That's great. What a guy, man. That's super nice, man. Joel, I told you at the beginning of this, man, I do well with compliments. So, it's super great. But
We get to capture you blushing on camera, which is
yeah,
awesome.
there it is.
So I was thinking, as I was preparing, I was thinking, okay, illScarlett, there's history with them, the Arkells history with them. And then I remembered that way back in the day, this is way before I even moved, 11 years ago to Mississauga. I did a road trip with my band from Ottawa to St. Catharines for the Scene Fest. And I
Yeah.
believe that both the Arkells and illScarlett were on that bill before either was big. And I think before you were in either band. This is
Yeah.
like, I don't know, 14 years ago, 15. It's been a long time. So, anyways,
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of a cool moment to see that both bands blew up after that.
It's
Um,
wild. Yeah.
so let's the fans are on here because of the Arkells. I wanted to go through the history of how we got to the point where you joined the Arkells. I'm curious how that opportunity presented itself.
Yeah. That opportunity is it's another just random, message, phone call, that the universe just throws at you, but so I've known Tim for a really long time. Like before, we actually have different memories of when we met. His memory of when we met was he was doing sound with this guy, Kevin Woodburn, who we call Woody. And they were doing sound at a show that the Knockouts opened for Protest the Hero at John Fraser High School. And so we were playing in the gymnasium there, or the cafetorium, or whatever they call it. And so Tim, I remember Woody. I don't remember Tim being there, but he was like definitely there. I know Woody, wouldn't have gone, without help. And Tim is a great audio engineer. So I'm, positive he was there. But so shortly after that, Woody has this cover band, and the lead singer in the Knockouts was playing guitar for this band, and Tim was playing drums. and it was just the three of them. And I always thought, I was like, why don't you guys have a bass player? And so I was like, can I play bass for you guys? Like, it was a very like unprofessional cover band, but we played tons of gigs.
Woody used to
Like,
play the open mics. He would come out
oh,
sometimes.
you know Woody. Okay, so good. Yeah, so you know Woody. Yeah, like, and dude, like great acoustic guitar vocalist, and so like, and the band was green, and like, I mean, I shouldn't have been playing bass in it, but it was a great time. And it's one of those things where, don't say no, like never, like even however good you think you are, like don't, because you don't know what is going to lead to what. Like if only having a crystal ball, would you be like, yeah, playing bass in this cover band where I spent all my money on drinks for the night would lead to like having a stable enough career in the music industry? Would you ever think? No, you would never think that. So it's like, just don't. Like, it doesn't make sense to be saying no to this stuff. So that was ultimately where that led. And I was on tour with illScarlett on Warped Tour. We did like the whole thing, and it was pretty brutal. Like, it was, growing up, I was like, all I want to do is be on Warped Tour. Like, I just want to, like, I used to go to all of them, like, I want to be on this tour. I want to be on this tour. And then finally, like, I'm like 24 or 25 and I get to go on this tour, and I'm like, this sucks. Like, it was like, it was just the complete opposite of what I thought. It was hard, and it was like, it was just grimy. And I was playing with two bands at the time. I was playing with Ill, and then Big D and the Kids Table, a ska band from Boston. So I was taking my keyboard and I was like playing with Ill or whoever was first, because you'd wake up in the morning and you'd have to go to they'd have a big schedule sheet, and you'd go and you'd be like, okay, I'm playing at that 1 p.m. on this stage, and I'm playing at 4 p.m. on this stage, and to mentally prepare for that. And then I'd finish playing with one, and then I'd grab my keyboard. I had dolly, and I'd like roll through like just the dust, like you're just in the middle of the desert most of the time, or like some dust bowl, and like dragging this thing through kids, and like just it's funny because looking back on it, you're like, oh, what a story, and it was so awesome. But like in it, I became really disillusioned, and I started kind of thinking, I'm like, maybe I don't really want to do this anymore. Like, it's fun, but also like, what am I kind of gaining from it now? Like, I started losing that kind of like forward, like if Warped Tour was like the peak of what I wanted to do, I was like, oh, I'm here now, and not feeling like that fulfilled from it. So I was like, I started thinking, I'm like, maybe I'll think about going back to school and like maybe being like a high school music teacher. Like, that was what was going on in my head. And halfway through the tour, it was 44-day tour. So around day 20, we ended up back in Toronto. And I remember coming home, and I was like eating with my parents and my girlfriend at the time. And I was like, I'm not going to go back. Like, I'm going to stay home. Like, they can have my gear, like, it was just so like, they're long days and you're out in the sun all day, like whatever. I can think of every excuse, but and everyone at the table like talked me into staying with it. And I was like, okay, fine. But when I'm done this, like, I'm done. Like, I'm not going to do this anymore. And like, I shit you not, like 2 days later, like, and then I'm back on the tour. We did Montreal, and then we go back into the States. And like 2 or 3 days later, Tim's like, can I call you for a second? I'm like, I haven't heard from this dude in like 5 years, maybe, I don't know, like just random messages. Like, he's like, I was like, yeah, sure. And so like I called him, and I was like, what's up? And he's like, like, we literally like a week ago, like, our keyboardist, he's gonna go back to school. Like, he's gonna like take up law. Like, he's gonna do a law degree. And he goes, I know you're busy, but like, do you have any interest in coming to jam with us and seeing how it goes? And I was like, what what I mean? Like, dude, like 2 days ago, I'm like telling myself that I'm going to get out of this, and then, so I was like, okay, I don't know, because I don't necessarily think that I want to go back into like, really grinding at it, and, but I'm glad I did, because it really, it's a great opportunity. And I really liked the music. I wasn't sure at first. I kind of thought that it was a little out of my bag because I'm a punk guy, I'm coming from playing like reggae with ill and ska with Big D and, the knockouts with guitar. And like, so I'm like, how do I was watching videos of Arkells and like, the keyboard player was like playing harmonica at the same time I was playing the keyboard. And I was like, how the fuck do you do? Like, I have no concept of how to do that, and then like, he's doing all these like sound effecty things. And, so I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do here, because this just isn't what I shaved my head, like, because it's Warped Tour. So I could shave my head. I had a bandana, like I've ripped clothes and everything like that. I'm like, I don't look like these guys, and so it was a wacky couple of months. I worked really hard at I was listening to the music like every day. I'd go to sleep in the bunk on the tour bus on Warped Tour, and I'd pop in, Jackson Square in Michigan Left, because I had to learn like all of those records, like to go jam with them. Like Tim was like, just learn it all. He goes, that will impress them, and I was like, okay, so fine. And like, I literally gave myself like hives because I was so nervous and stressed out, and I was still doing this like rigorous touring. Right. So, it was just, yeah, it's such a wacky period of my life, and so stress driven, but worked out, and, it's, I was, again, like, fortunate enough to have people to kind of like support me through it, to go like, no, like, we know what you like doing, like, just go for it. And if it doesn't work out past that, then you don't have to worry about it, and, and again, fortunate enough that like with ill, I think if it was busier, I probably would have said no. It just timing wise, just everything kind of really connected, So yeah, I've kind of, like crazy, just universe kind of throwing things at you,
So we just heard from a member of illScarlett, and now we're going to hear from a member of the Arkells. So this is a voice clip. So this is from Nick Dika. Here we go.
Hey, Tone, it's Nick. Someone slid into my DMs yesterday and asked me to say a few words about you. So firstly, Anthony, as a musician, is the best musician I've ever played with. I'm super lucky to get to prick his brain and learn from him. He's super generous with his time and is always happy to talk music. Despite how talented he is, he's always pushing himself. He's always learning and teaching himself things. The time we've been in the band together, I've seen him teach himself how to play trumpet, mando. I've seen him learn Pro Tools, engineer sessions, and he makes it all just look so easy, which is the mark of somebody who's super talented. Tone's the band's musical director, and he makes us all better performers and arrangers and musicians. It's really inspiring. Personally, I don't have a ton of great stuff to say about him. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, Tone. I'm kidding. Tone's as good a person as he is a musician. Don't let his like crusty punk rock, don't tell me what to do aesthetic fool you. Yeah. He's a super caring and thoughtful person. We've been in a band together for 12, 13 years now. And that can have its challenges, and Tony always makes going through those things a lot easier. Whether it's like an inside joke he tells to keep everybody laughing, or wise words of advice when we need it, we can always go to Tony. Tony's a great guy, and I'd totally vote for him for Prime Minister too. I'm all in on Tony as a politician and what he represents there. So yeah, those are a few things from my perspective about Tony.
You're going to be an expert at receiving compliments by the end of this. So.
God, no, that's great. Nick's the best, man. It's so funny. Like, talk about someone that is so ready to give, musical compliments to somebody else. He doesn't take himself as seriously as music. The dude is like a rock solid bassist. Like, he's crazy, and he gives himself no credit, which is wild. And sometimes we're in the studio, I'm like, Nick, just fucking trust yourself. Like, you have such good instincts, and like, just doesn't. But it's good. I mean, like, it's all that sort of shit that kind of just it's an ongoing process, right? So the minute that you think you know what you're doing, you don't. And he's a shining example of that. Like, talk about, he's like, I've seen him learn stuff. It's like the dude learned synthesis in like 2 years. Like, he does all the synth based stuff now. And that's not easy to learn. So That's great. I appreciate those compliments coming from him. So yeah.